Daniel, every time I walk in this gym, my eyes go up to that big championship banner hanging from the rafter over there. How often do you gaze up at that thing and go, wow, we really did that? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think, obviously every day it's something you see and you take pride in, just like the sign outside. It's something that we'll always cherish and will always be remembered, especially at our school being, the first one in the school's history. It's something that we definitely look at, but it's also kind of a motivational thing for our girls, and for our programs to keep chasing and want to, put more up there like all the other good programs in the area. So,
you lost two All-State players in Kiana Degner and Elena Rager and some other good players like Peyton Thomas. So normally a team in that situation would be going through a bit of a rebuilding phase, but you brought back some pretty darn good talent too. So considering all of that, and you've had some bumps through this season, but at the same time you're going to have 20-plus wins, maybe win the conference championship. So has this season kind of played out like you envisioned it would?
I think every year is so different. You go in, every team sets goals. Obviously, you name the kids that we lost, and they're, you can't replace those individuals and who they were. But I think the nice thing for our group is we came in and this group made it about themselves. They said, we have standards. They have individual standards that they wanted. And those two sophomores that were freshmen, Cora and Riley, have really done a good job leading. And then some of our seniors like Amani and Delaney and Anna, they were all a part of that team. So I think the season has gone kind of how we expected. We take it a day at a time and, we treat every opponent the same. And we knew we were going to play really good teams to hopefully make us better for the end of the year. And so far we've been able to win some of those games, and we've also learned in some of the games. And that's the biggest part, is learning along the way, winning or losing. As long as you're learning and getting better, that's what you want. And I think that's been a key for us to be successful this year too. So,
Elena Rager was probably the best go-to player in the state last year at 1A. When you needed that big bucket, that big play, that big spark, she was going to provide it for you. How has the team adjusted to not having her on the team, or is that still an ongoing process?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think we're starting to kind of, the girls are starting to kind of buy into the roles individually and collectively. They're starting to kind of feel out what girls can do. Obviously, you can't replace Elena. She's a different level scorer. But I think Riley and Cora, obviously, they get a lot of the attention and a lot of the shot attempts. And I think not only for them to learn how to score, but how to keep shooting, right? As freshmen, they've been our go-to this year. As freshmen, they probably only took, maybe 6 to 8 shots. This year, they're doubling those attempts. So, maybe you don't shoot the ball as well and you keep shooting it, right? You're getting more attempts. That mindset is something that those two have had to learn and work through as well, right? It's not always going to go good, especially if you're taking a lot more attempts. Some nights it's good, some nights it's bad. And I think the biggest thing for them is they've grown and kind of come into that role of being our go-to scorers, but also learning how to get other players involved as well, like Ava Ackerman, Amani Boyd. And I think when we have that balance, we've been able to beat some really good teams, and that's what's made us, be able to win those games. So.
Defensively, you're giving up only 31 points per game. Your defense is phenomenal. On the offensive end, it seems like you don't have that true point guard at the moment. The perimeter shooting might be a little hit and miss spotty. So what do you guys have to do on the offensive end in order to have some success on that side of the ball?
Yeah, so our defense makes us who we are. It's been that way all 4 years, and that's a good thing. You obviously can always play defense regardless of how you're playing on offense. But on the offensive end, I think the biggest thing is when we play inside out and we get our post players involved and, they're taking attempts just to keep the defense honest, I think that's when we're at our best. Especially it frees up Riley and Cora, and then it also allows our other guards like Maddie and Haley to kind of get out and transition off of steals, and that's a good way to get some points. You're not having to be set the entire game doing half-court offense.
Cora Naud had 30 points in the season opener at Polo. I was at that game, so she was on fire right out of the gate. Now, she's not averaging 30 a game, but she's still really giving you a nice offensive spark. You got to be real pleased with Cora's development this year.
I'm so proud of her. I think the biggest thing from the jump this year that she's done is she kind of taken on that just being aggressive regardless of circumstance, and I think she's also learned this year how to get other players involved. So at the beginning of the year, it was kind of all I think she was focusing on was I'm scoring, I got to score. But at the same time, you have to take good shots that are within the confines of the offense and trust the other players. And I'm so proud of her.
If I was picking an all-defensive team based on all the girl players in this area, Riley Alexander's in my top 5. Tell me about her makeup and her willingness to play that hard-nosed defense.
Last year we said it. I thought she was the best defender in the state last year in 1A, and she kind of made us go. I know Elena and Kiana got the credit for the scoring, but Riley really did a good job guarding people, and it's been that way this year too. I think what makes her so good is she's just kind of an all-around basketball player, and she has such good instinct. She does a really good job kind of dummying people into thinking they can make certain passes, and then she'll jump it and go. And I also think she's very intelligent, and you can see the way she rotates in full court and in the half court. and her positioning with her body is really good, and she's just a really elite athlete and a really good kid and a really good defender. And I think when you couple all the skills that she has with her brain and her ability, it makes her, probably not very fun for a lot of people to face, and it's a good thing for us.
And Daniel tells me Pecatonica has some good talent coming at the lower levels, so Pecatonica's positioned pretty well for the future.
And they're only starting one senior this season, so they should be very strong next season. All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, we'll take you to Oregon and Byron for Big Northern Boys games.